Did this really happen? So, completely out of nowhere, Riot just dropped the biggest announcement in League's history. In fact, if I think about it, I can't even think of anything bigger that could be announced. And as to why things were announced right now, well, I had to ask around, and the likely reason sounds stupidly hilarious. We'll get into the details of the announcement itself in a moment. But totally randomly, Riot just dropped a piece of a dev video. It was confirmed that this was a piece of the dev post that would be out after the winter break was over, after which Meddler then gave us a bit of a context for this video, and there he mentioned that there were some early speculations, and so he just wanted to let people know what was really happening. But again, we still had no idea what kind of speculations he was talking about, and that's because I don't think there were any speculations. It turns out, someone from Bloomberg, where it doesn't even seem like it was an official interview, someone just talked to a writer, where the entire article is almost written from the perspective of a casual conversation, and the way it was written makes it obvious that whoever wrote this had no idea how League even works. After which, because this was likely a casual conversation, there were no embargoes, and they decided to publish this article a day after everyone at Riot went on a holiday break. My favorite line in this article is: the game's visual aesthetic, including characters, the user interface, and battle arenas, will be reimagined. Yes, all the players know these as characters and battle arenas. Anyway, because of this major fumble, Riot had to step in and let everyone know what might actually happen officially. And again, they had to step in during their Christmas break. And so they quickly edited together a piece of a dev video that was already in the works to clarify everything. As a fun fact, if you have a look at the background, you can even see some blurred images, because this was supposed to come out a lot later while they are teasing other things. And so, this edited piece of a dev video starts with Pabro and Meddler, where they immediately start talking about what is coming to League after 2026. In other words, we are talking about things that will arrive in League in more than a year from now. And immediately, Pabro tackles a question that the majority of the League players asked at least once. Will there ever be League of Legends 2? After which his answer was: no, at least for the foreseeable future, they don't plan on releasing League of Legends 2. However, let me tell you, from what you are about to hear, it almost feels like we are getting League of Legends 2 without calling it a League of Legends 2. It's kinda like the reverse of what happened with Overwatch, which should be good news. Anyway, then Pablo continues that all the updates so far happened through game modes, champion updates, and balancing. However, these changes can only push the game so far. And so Meddler adds in that after 2026, League is gonna get a lot more. Riot is not ready to show us the progress just yet, but they did confirm that at this point, the vast majority of the League of Legends team is working on all the new features. This is a big deal because it makes me wonder if the changes to 2026 are gonna be as big, if not perhaps lesser than the changes in 2025. I'm talking about the updated Summoner's Rift, ARM updates and stuff like that. To me, it seems more likely like 2026 is gonna be more calm because 2027 is gonna be the big one. Keep in mind that this is just me guessing. There is a good chance Riot figured out the workflow, and so 2026 will be pretty much the same as 2025, just new seasons. But regardless of what really happens, Meddler immediately made sure that we know it is gonna be worth it. Because the first thing the team is working on is a new in-engine client. That's right, after 16 years, Riot is finally moving away from the archaic move to give League its own separate client. And instead, League will get the Valorant treatment, or the 2xKO treatment, or the treatment that any modern game simply gets these days. In other words, when you launch League of Legends, you will get into a full-on app. And it will be in that app that you can simply start the game. Which already brings up some really interesting questions. In something like Fortnite, for example, when you launch the game, it essentially loads up Unreal Engine. And it is part of that preload that launches the game when you try to play it. But in League of Legends, it seems like we will still have two separate things under the hood. You see, the concern is that League's client might be moved into something new, such as Unreal Engine. Let's just pretend this is the case for the moment, because Riot is using Unreal Engine for a lot of things. Well, if they take this approach, you launch Unreal Engine, you get into the menus, and then when you click play, you would launch a separate engine for the League gameplay. This is what really makes you wonder just how worth it can it be to have a full client then. Is it even possible to make it efficient? Well, Meddler did know there would be some confusion about this, and so on Reddit he did clarify this. He confirmed that the entire gameplay engine for League of Legends will get updated, which is already incredible news on its own. I mean, the engine did get updated throughout the years, kinda slowly, but now it seems like a more broad update to the entire system. And apparently, Riot wants to move the client directly into that. This is interesting because Riot is essentially porting the client into the League spaghetti engine, which means I just hope the update is really good. Because while it will be very difficult to do a move like this without a pre-made engine that most engineers understand, the result should still be that Riot can do a lot of cool things directly in the client. One of which could be, potentially, believe it or not, previewing skins. Though I don't know if they want to go the Wild Rift path of faking the high definition, because the in-game models are not that great. Anyway, the cool thing is that all of this is still just the first update the entire League team is working on. Because on top of essentially announcing League of Legends 2 with a brand new client, they did also announce a complete overhaul of the Summoner's Rift visuals. Now this makes me wonder, just how big of an update are we talking about? Because the reskins we got in the new seasons were already pretty good. I like the new versions of the Noxian map or the Spirit Blossom map. So are we talking about a graphical redefining of the game? As in, Summoner's Rift will be more cartoony to be more in line with the modern League of Legends style? Or are we talking about modernizing the feel of Summoner's Rift? I mean, what if Summoner's Rift is finally gonna be treated as a canonical place? And what if, instead of fighting red versus blue, it is gonna be something like Noxus versus Demacia? Any one of these options would be cool. Though remember that they did mention that this is a complete visual overhaul, but there will also be some gameplay changes tied to the update. So I'm gonna assume there's gonna be a new season on top of this, and there's gonna be some gameplay stuff tied to the theme. But after this, Meddler also mentioned that there will be more changes to runes and pre-game decisions. From what I know, it is the runes and the summoner spells that scare new players from getting into League. Usually they have no idea what summoner spells are good, and they are afraid that if they pick the wrong runes, not only will they be worse in the game, but people will also utilize their skills called toxicity towards them. Which, let's be honest, that is exactly what happens. So there is a good chance that a lot of these choices will be either streamlined or removed. Because not having to choose your runes in something like Arena or Brawl completely works. Connected to this, Pabro also mentioned one more thing. Apparently they are also overhauling the new player experience. Which should be one of the most important things here. Because we all know that, like it or not, the League of Legends audience is aging. And in order for Riot to truly make this a multi-generational game that lives on, they need new players. And right now, League is kinda notorious for being difficult to get into. So whatever Riot is trying, it better be good. From what I've heard, a lot of the newer players around League of Legends really liked Brawl. And the moment Brawl went away, a lot of the new players did too. So I wonder if something more is gonna be happening there. I mean, we all remember how many players arrived in League after Arcane, and then everyone hated it and left. And with that context, it now completely makes sense why Riot is focusing in that area. Now, for the most part, that is it for the updates that Riot is planning. Meddler then mentioned that we will learn more about these between the MSI and the Worlds of 2026. Up until then, the normal dev updates will still continue. So he's kinda making sure that we know that 2026 is still gonna be good. And while that is pretty much where the video ends, Meddler still gave us more context on social media. So, in summary, there is gonna be a brand new in-engine client, there is gonna be a full visual overhaul of Summoner's Rift, there is gonna be smaller gameplay changes tied to the update, so think something like objectives, there will be changes to runes and pre-game decisions, there is gonna be improvement for the new player experience, after which he also adds in one more thing. This work is part of our effort to refocus on what we believe matters most to you. Over the past year, we hope you've been feeling this in the changes we've been making. This next phase builds on that momentum and lays the groundwork for League's next era. We'll share some more details with you next year, sometime between MSI and Worlds, including approximately when in 2027 we're aiming to have these updates land. Your passion, feedback and memes continue to shape League, and we appreciate you being on the journey with us. Happy New Year everyone, and see you on the Rift this holiday. So, did you notice the one thing that's missing in this entire update? It is the character updates, as Bloomberg put it. Yes, I'm not sure what conversation that came out of, but it doesn't seem like Riot is planning any big overhauls for champions specifically. Yes, we know that some champions really need it, but I'm gonna assume there's gonna be the standard ASUs still going. But at the same time, they never mentioned any specific champions anywhere. But outside of that, that's pretty much it for the massive update heading to League in the kinda distant future, I guess. And from all the reactions I've gathered, it seems like everyone is happy. I still wonder just how drastic the changes in 2026 will be, because Riot will need to start setting things up for 2027 if the updates are really that big. And yeah, I'm still curious to see just how well the client will actually work out. Because now, Riot can just put all the minigames directly in the client. Up until now, you are technically running the minigames on a website that's just open in the client. Although, the talk about the client also brings up one question, and once you start thinking about that one, the horror starts creeping in. Because after we get a brand new in-engine client for League of Legends, what's gonna happen to TFT?